From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in Sydney, where Australia's Test match summer has ended. The fires continue, though, and a couple of days after the test finished, the city has been shrouded in the worst smoke of the week. I have to say, it looked like a UK winter fog when I first opened my curtains one morning, only you knew that it wasn't fog, and it is a jolting, jarring sight looking out over a harbour that is historically so sparkling under clear blue skies. And it's very difficult to be in Sydney and think about other things other than what is in front of you. It is so glaring to know what is causing this smoke that we're seeing in front of us.
I'm Charu Sharma for All India Radio in faraway Bangalore. Now, there's no shortage of difficult situations in our part of the world, but there is, Alison, a lot of concern and sympathy for the alarming bushfires in Australia. But cricket-wise, just very quickly to mention the bemusing abandonment of the first T20, but order has been restored with India quite predictably racing ahead against Sri Lanka.
And I'm Clint Wheeldon for the ABC in Perth, filling in for Jim Maxwell. Lovely to be with you all again. And after, as Ali mentioned, a summer of success for the Australian team, it's been hard to focus on anything, though, than the fires that have the nation aflame. We've been very lucky on the western side of the nation. Not too much to concern ourselves with here, but certainly casting an eye across to the south, the east and the northeast, and thoughts with everyone involved in what's just been a horrific situation.
Yeah, well, it's been striking to see how the sporting world has stood up to support the bushfire rescue appeal. We've had tennis star Nick Kyrgios donating $200 Aussie for every ace he hits in January. Aussie jockeys have been given over their winnings to the appeal. And then during the cricket, Australian bowlers Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon and James Pattinson donated $1,000 for every wicket they took in the Sydney Test match. And then there was Australian legend Shane Warne deciding to auction off a baggy green to raise money for the rescue effort. Just seen that Jeff Thompson has put up his last baggy green as well for auction. But Shane Warne, we all remember that he liked to field in his floppy white sun hat, but he says that he had this cap throughout his 145 Test career, during which time he took a record 708 Test wickets. So here he is telling the BBC why he decided to make this gesture.
Look, it's pretty dire here in Australia at the moment. I'm sure everyone has been touched by the images they've seen. The fires, there's homes have been destroyed, lives have been lost. There's over 500 million animals that have died. There's haze in the air everywhere you go. It's disbelief, really. And for me, I know every time you sort of look, you're seeing what the government are doing, what are the winds doing, what's the latest. There's updates every 5 minutes on the TV. It's just really dire for everyone, and it's unthinkable what some of these people are going through. Every day you hear some stories, you see some images that just break your heart, and we all want to do something. We're sort of all in this together, and I was thinking, what have I got that I think could raise a lot of money to go towards the Red Cross bushfire appeal and help the people in dire need? So I thought something that I treasure is my green baggy cap, and I thought if I put that up for auction, hopefully someone out there we'll be able to put a big bid in, and a significant amount of money can be raised and go directly to the bushfire appeal.
So that's Australian spin bowling great Shane Warne, and crikey, someone has put in an enormous bid, because the highest bid for the cap as we're recording this, and bidding hasn't yet closed, is 510,000 Australian dollars.
Well, and the bidding hasn't ended yet. But, without question, it's a wonderful reminder about the love and the power and the widespread connections of sport globally, not just, of course, in certain countries that play only cricket. So I do, Alison, want to mention that one constantly wishes that those who have achieved some crowning glory by scaling this very steep pyramid of sporting success would, in a sense, repay their dues to sporting fans, because the fans really are the bulk of why any sport's popular, by raising their voices at the very least when required, or actually doing something more visible and tangible like Warne just has. And sometimes one can understand this more geographical in that you want to respond to something more local or somewhere around you. But the sport has the power of eliciting emotion and response and support from around the world. Doesn't matter where you are and which sport you play and in which country. So it's quite remarkable, the reminder about the power of sport. And I just wish it would happen a lot more, especially by those who, like I said, achieve the pinnacle of success, because they don't quite need, financial rewards anymore. They need to give from what they got.
But the bushfire crisis did provide a troubling backdrop, really, to the final test of the Australian summer that was at the SCG last week. And there were constantly hazy skies in the distance behind the stands. We saw Australia's men beat New Zealand by a whopping 279 runs that completed a 3-0 series sweep for them. That followed a one-sided 2-0 series victory over Pakistan, which, well, it's left Australia with a perfect record for the test season. Well, Charu, significantly, it's India who will be playing tests in Australia again next summer. So, yes, later this year after the T20 World Cup. It's a series that could stretch to 5 test matches, or I think more likely 4 at this stage. But it's a chance for revenge for Australia. Right, a chance for India to prove that their victory last year wasn't a fluke. So, Clint and Charu, I'm giving you each 1 minute to tell me why your team will win. Okay, ready? Home team first. Clint, go.
Ali, I hope it's a 5-test match series for one reason in particular, because I'd like to see India take on a full-strength Australia in both Brisbane and in Perth for a true home ground advantage. We know that certainly helps. Look, India, as we mentioned before, got the Australians last summer with the national side possibly at its lowest ever ebb. We know, of course, that Pattinson wasn't available, that they were still dealing with the suspensions of Warner, Smith and Bancroft. And for what they did, losing Warner and Smith on field, it was also everything they had to cope with off field as well. A focus on winning back the public and the faith of the nation as much as anything else. It was a team that was trying to regain its stride. That won't be an issue next time India comes to town. The fast bowlers, if they can all stay fit, and there's no reason to think that they can't, Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins and Pattinson, they'll all be 30 or younger by next summer, so they're still in their prime. Nathan Lyon will be 33 or thereabouts, and you'd suspect that he'll continue to take scalp after scalp. Steve Smith was down on form, but we know that he will find a way to get himself out of trouble.
Yeah, I was about to say
that. It's not. No, it's not. Give me 2 more seconds. And Marnus Labuschagne, who I haven't mentioned yet, he'll be 26 and he'll be magnificent.
Okay, Charu, you can have 1 minute and 20 seconds.
the big word here, or a couple of words, psychology and belief. And I think the Indian team will go to Australia knowing that they've done this before, not focusing on the fact that 1 or 2 people are missing, but the fact that they won against Australia in Australia before. I think that's a massive wall breached last time around, and the Indians will know that they can do it again. Do they have the personnel? Absolutely. I don't think Bumrah particularly, and Shami and whoever else will be there for the attack, maybe even Navdeep Saini, who can crank it up to 153 we saw yesterday, I think will easily be equal to the Aussie pace attack, which, by the way, I think is their number 1 strength. If we can blunt that, and no disrespect to Nathan, he did very well last time around, I think the Indians will be able to handle everything a little easier. People like Rohit Sharma, so underdone in test matches for so long, he's back now. There's Mayank Agarwal, there's Rahul, of course, do I even need to mention Virat Kohli? So India, I think, will win only because they're much better balanced. They've done it before, and there's no psychological baggage about, oh my God, Australia, so tough. We've never beaten them. So there.
Well, on the strength of arguments, it's clearly going to be a drawn series 2-2. You're both very good. Both very good.
Yeah.
we'll see.
You've got to get off
Splinters,
the
Ali.
Well,
Splinters for you.
we will get a chance to weigh up the 2 rivals next week, albeit in a different format, because India are hosting Australia for a 3-match one-day series. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Marnus Labuschagne goes, having earned his first call-up to the Australian 50-over squad for that one. And we'll bring you all the early talking points from that series in next week's show.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on All India Radio.
OK, time for a couple more talking points from the world of cricket, and we need to talk about this one. The ICC's proposal to reduce the length of test matches from 5 days to 4 after 2021. It has certainly got a few people's backs up, not least India captain Virat Kohli.
With test cricket, I don't think that, with day-night tests is the most that should be changed about test cricket, according to me. I mean, then you're purely only talking about getting numbers in and and entertainment, and I think the intent will not be right then, because then you'll speak of 3-day tests. I mean, where do you end? Then you'll speak of test cricket disappearing. So I don't endorse that at all. I don't think that is fair to the purest format of the game. How cricket started initially, and 5-day test matches was the highest of tests you can have at the international level. So according to me, it should not be altered. As I said, day-night is another step towards commercializing test cricket and creating excitement around it, but it can't be tinkered with too much. I don't believe so.
Well, that is Virat Kohli expressing his opposition to 4-day Test cricket, and his views were echoed by Sachin Tendulkar, who said Test cricket, quotes, should not be tinkered with. Now, I've been sitting in commentary alongside former Australia captain Ricky Ponting in the last few weeks as well, and he's not convinced either. The ICC say that 4-day tests would ease the strain on players and the schedule, and the idea is going to be discussed by their World Cricket Committee of former players in March. Now, I'm not sure whether it will ease the strain or just condense test series and open up more time to squeeze in one-day cricket. But Charu, if Kohli and Tendulkar don't want 4-day tests, well, it won't happen, will it?
Certainly not in India, but I wonder if we'll have that kind of a choice. We've got to figure out, just to sort of rewind the clock a bit, about why 4 days. I mean, this is not like somebody woke up one morning and said 4 days. Now, surely there's a lot of data backing up this call. And if that data suggests that a very large percentage of test match cricket is ending in 4 days, within 4 days, why have that 5th day anyway? Because there's a lot of infrastructure involved, cost, commercial stuff, and of course, time of the players. So if there is a sensible call for reducing it to 4 days, I think it should be explored, because there are a lot of test matches which feature countries that are not equally placed in terms of standards, and those matches end in 3. So why plan for 5? And yes, you find some, the other side will say that, there's some very exciting finishes on the 5th day, but I'm sure if it's 4 days, people will just play a shade quicker. And if it's also coupled with the fact that people don't have the patience and the time to attend 5 days, apart from Australia and England maybe, then it really has to be seriously examined. When was the last time any cricketer, particularly top cricketer, ever agreed to any new idea interfering with the game right up? I mean, India didn't want to play T20 cricket, saying, no. Tendulkar and gang, no disrespect, said T20 cricket, forget it. We don't even want to play the World Cup. And then, of course, India went and won in 2007, and everybody was sort of saying, oh, wow, this is what we need to be playing. So I think all players of all sport are generally very apprehensive about any kind of change. But when it does happen, I think they embrace it.
I think that's nonsense. And I was applauding in the background when you mentioned what we just witnessed, 52 balls left after 5 days to see that remarkable finish with England successful over South Africa. We capitalise the teen test for a reason, because it is a test. It's a test of spirit. It's a test of fitness. It's a test of character. I just think under no circumstances should be the version of the game be changed in any way. And in terms of the game itself surviving, there are enough other formats for those who don't want to spend that time. It won't make tests better to make them 4 days.
Okay, so Alison, you can't see my hand, but it's up, and I want to
I could hear that you were itching to say something.
Yes.
Go.
So I'm not going to rewind the clock all the way back to the 19th century and say, why not have timeless tests, because you want a result, don't you? So, all right, but why don't we increase it to 7 days or 8 days? It takes care of all the weather problems and all the possibilities of a draw. Take it back to 8 days. Give me one reason why not.
Well, why go the other way?
We've found the perfect mix.
No, we haven't.
Right now, that 5 days is the perfect mix. And what we've seen in recent Ashes series and what we saw last night was the perfect example of while 5 days is the exact right mix of days required between, as you say, the timeless tests, which we look back and go, honestly, how did they do that? Oh, a boat's coming. They need to leave, so they have to call this one off. And what we now see is the crash and bash of the shortest versions of the game. 5 days has been shown for a number of years now. It's the perfect length of time to be a genuine test.
So I'm going to throw in an Americanism.
The number of Sorry, okay, go. I was just going to say, if you throw in the number of overs that a side can be forced to stay in the field even during a test match, and the longevity of some great innings that are allowed to unfold because of the number of overs available and the time. I mean, even just Neil Wagner watching the New Zealand series, and they were kept in the field for hours by Australia in tremendous heat. And part of Test cricket is just going, wow, like, I couldn't do that, and admiring these guys. And again, that sense of it's unique in cricket, reserved for the very best.
And you don't see that if you don't have these sort of 5-day test matches.
All right, so I'm going to come back with just 10 seconds worth. One, if you like seeing that grit and determination and that, squeezing out the time over long periods, why not take it to 7 days and see more of it? One. And two,
I don't want to see that much more.
And two, to use an Americanism, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think there's a lot of attempt to fix it because a lot of people sense that something is broke. Ways to fix it.
Well, maybe that's the first thing that needs to be presented is what is broken and how badly, and how is that break being measured? And if it is purely on a commercial sense of, and here's some numbers for you, provided by Rick Finlay of ABC. Since 2010, there have been 420 test matches, of which 234 went to 5 days, which is more than half. Depends what you want. Is that good enough? Is that not good enough? 131 finished in 4 days. Is it just commercial in the sense of it costs a lot for stadiums to staff a fifth day, which isn't always used? Me personally, I don't think a commercial argument is enough. But it will be discussed by the ICC at their World Cricket Committee, so we may reconvene and discuss it again when we hear what they've had to say about it. How's that? It's been good to get our teeth into it. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped on All India Radio. My thanks to Charu Sharma and Clint Wheeldon, and to you for listening. Don't forget to keep in touch on Twitter. We're at BBCWS Sport. Use the hashtag BBC Stumped. Join us again next time for more cricketing tales. Until then, bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.